We're going to talk about one of the deals we recently closed, which you spearheaded. It was 144 units. Can you talk about what the property was?
Yeah, so it was two buildings in London, Ontario, 144 units split between the two buildings. One of the buildings was a little bit bigger than the other. We bought it directly from the developer. He actually had it listed, I don't know, what would you say? It was like listed a year before or 2 years before with one of the larger shops. It didn't end up selling. We ended up connecting with, actually you ended up connecting with him. Had to have been probably late 2023 when you had connected with him, and we were working on it since then, and didn't end up working out with the original buyer that we had for it. And then we quickly pivoted to one of our clients that we've done a lot with, and he ended up getting the building under contract, and we had it closed, or I think we had it under contract mid 2024. And it was a staggered closing. So one of the buildings closed late last year. And then one of them is closing in about a week.
Okay. So it's two apartment buildings.
Side by side.
Yeah, side by side. Newer construction, right?
Yeah, it was newer construction. There was some affordability components. This one was really interesting because there was kind of 3 layers of debt to it. So one of the buildings had been financed by MCAP. The other building had been financed by RBC. And then there was actually, so 2 separate CMHC loans. And then there was another city grant on top of that debt to keep basically the buildings affordable for the township or the municipality.
So how does that play into the sale? Like, did they have to assume it?
We didn't have to assume it, but just with how the debt was structured, it made sense to assume it. So MCAP was very, very straightforward. Like, that's why that deal closed first, is just they were really good about the assumption. It happened very quickly. RBC, this is our second time dealing with them on an assumption. I think you remember the last deal we did in Ottawa. That was an assumption of about $10 million. And this one, the entire deal size was about 23 million. But RBC, I've found to have been a little bit challenging to work with. You remember last time it took, 8 months for that assumption to happen?
Oh, yeah, that was a long one.
And this one, I don't know, like same thing. We're going on month 8 now. So I don't know, for whatever reason, maybe it's their credit department, their risk team, whatever it is. But you know who the buyer is. Like, he's a very strong buyer.
Yeah, I'll tell you liquid. Why though. Because pretty much every multi-res deal goes through CMHC.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, seriously, like almost every single deal goes through CMHC. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, I'd say 99%. Like, even if you're buying the building on, with a B lender or bridge debt, whatever, you're going into CMHC after. So it's the same thing. But there was 3 different portions of debt on that. And then, like, it took, I think we're going, like I said, month 8 for the second portion.
Yeah, that's long. That's long. And why did this guy buy it? Like, what attracted him to this type of investment? Was it the cash flow? Was it
I think it was the cash flow, and there was some upside still, obviously, in the rents. So it cash flows very well. He's keeping them affordable for now. I think probably when that loan ends, he's going to make a decision on if he's going to continue to keep it affordable, or if they decide to go to market rent with it. That'll be up to them to decide in 10 years. I think, there's like 8 years remaining left on that affordability debt, I think. So, I think it was a newer asset, very well built, and the cash flow was strong. There was still significant upside. And for them, like, again, these guys, like, it's a scale for them. So they entered the market with 150 units, and now we're looking at, 50 units, 100 units, 200 units over there with them too.
Yeah, so it's kind of their entry into that city.
They're close by. Like, their main headquarters is probably a couple hours away. So for them, it's not that far. And they've also got some stuff in Ottawa. Like, they like to keep things kind of within a 5-6 hour radius, but then they've got partners in the States, and, they've got stuff kind of all over.
That makes sense. So what was one of the main challenges in getting this deal done?
I would say again, it was the debt, like just understanding how that affordability component, because it's not a small number. Like it was a very significant number of, like I guess the forgivable debt. Like it was a very high number, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But you have to understand how that portion of the debt works in conjunction with the CMHC debt, and then what are your obligations. Because it's not always like as straightforward as, okay, you get a 2% increase every year. Like certain units have to stay under a certain price point, and, you know, maybe there's city tax grants involved too. So we had to understand all of that. And then, you know, like it comes down to, how do you look at it from a purchase price and a cap rate perspective, right? Like, do you look at it from, okay, this is forgivable debt, so I'm not going to take into account this, whatever, call it $10 million, or like, are you going to look at it from a 32 million price point or a 22 million price point, right? So that was probably the biggest challenge is getting that. And then obviously the assumptions and having that stuff staggered. Like we did something very creative, which I've never done before. It was similar to like a forward sale where the seller got all of their equity out on the initial closing date, continued to manage one of the properties while the new buyer or new owner managed the property next door. They kind of worked together until this other one closes, which by the time this is posted, it'll be closed. So that was kind of challenging too, because now it's not just like, we talk about it all the time, how much, like how many moving parts there are of a transaction, right?
Yeah.
Like you have the bank, you have the appraisers, you have the mortgage brokers if there's one on file. Now you have CMHC on top of that. Now you have the city, and you are kind of working like what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Like, do I contact the lender first to get this answer, or do I contact the person at the city who knows the answer to the affordability that connects me to this and that? And so that was a huge challenge. But again, like also having that additional layer of people, I guess, working together and making sure everything is smooth until everything is closed was also a really big challenge.
So many more hoops to jump through.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially dealing with the city. Yeah, it's
yeah, because the city, they don't care, right? Like the lenders in CMHC, like CMHC is insuring the lender's debt. They're making sure that the affordability, everything stays in place. And the lender obviously wants to make money with their interest rates and whatever. Like these guys want to lend, especially on a $20+ million deal to a really good AAA client. Like, yeah, everybody wants to lend, but the city just doesn't care. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like I remember throughout the transaction, one of the guys was away for 2 weeks. We got an email saying, contact this girl. So we contact this girl. Well, she was there for a week and then ended up leaving her job at the city. And then it took how long to fill that position. Then this guy comes back from vacation. He's just getting caught up. He's 3 weeks behind on emails. So then we have to extend here, extend this. Hey, it's not our fault. Like, and you know how it is. Like sometimes sellers and even buyers are emotional. There's deal fatigue involved. And like sometimes you can't just, like it's just out of your hands. Like what do I do? I can't just go to the city and knock on the door and be like, give me whoever this guy's name is. I need the answer now. Because chances are they don't even have the answer. They're going up a ladder, like a chain as well, right?
Then you have to go back to the drawing board and negotiate an extension with the seller that everyone's happy with, and sometimes
which is very rare.
Yeah,
it takes rare. 2 or 3 iterations before everybody's happy with it.
Yeah,
and especially like you know how it is, like dealing, like I would say things probably start to change around like the $15 million mark, $20 million mark in terms of how these deals are done. Like, for example, in a $5 to $10 million deal, it's you and I, or you and the listing agent, or whatever, me and you and the seller, like whoever it is, it's just one iteration. Here's what it is. We're explaining what this clause means, everything here. If the seller or the buyer have questions about it, they call us and we can answer it right away. And if they want some wording tweaked, we can make that on the fly. Whereas these 15, 20, 30, 60 million dollar deals, they all go through the lawyer, right? So I can tell you something, I can relay the information that the buyer is trying to like explain to you and tell you, and you might be like, okay, yeah, I'm good with that. And they're good with that. And I'm good with that. And then you send it to the lawyers and be like, hey, here's what we're trying to do. Make it happen. And then they immediately come back with, well, what about this scenario and this scenario, this scenario? It's like, guys, like,
They start poking holes and everything.
yeah, which is good. Like, that's their job, right? But like, also, you know, everybody's trying to get a deal done here. So like, what do we have to do? And then obviously, you know, these lawyers are busy. So 3, 4 days, 5 days, sometimes a week. Then it goes to the other lawyer. Takes another week. 3, 4 changes, couple words here and there, right? And then fucking back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
So
they get complex.
yeah.
They get complex. At what point did you think the deal was going to die and not move forward?
You know what? I think typically that usually happens either smack dab right at the beginning of due diligence kind of thing, or right at the end of due diligence. I find it never really happens like kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
Because, and maybe it's
a good point. It's a good point. Yeah.
well, maybe it's because the buyers we're working with too. I find the more sophisticated buyers, they do everything up front. So unless there's like a big wrench thrown in at the end that they were waiting on an answer for or whatever, like, yeah, it either happens at the beginning or the end. But this one, I think it was kind of at the very, very end. We almost lost it. I was about to say like, oh no, it was good the whole time. Now I remember. Yeah, like I can't even remember exactly what it was, but it was something that had to do with the assumption of the debt and the timelines associated. And it kind of came down to like, hey, like we're ready to go, but like, it's not my fault, CMHC and RBC, like MCAP can do this in 3 weeks. So we're good there, but like we have to tackle this issue of the second building. So how do we tackle that issue and like, you know, come to a solution on it when it's out of our hands? And I don't know, for anybody listening that doesn't understand financing or CMHC, like you and I will never, ever, ever, unless we have a personal relationship with them. And even then, they won't talk to us about professional stuff, work stuff, whatever. I will never be in contact with a CMHC like underwriter ever. Like I remember I somehow got an email one time and within fucking 20 minutes they were like, dude, like you can't talk to us. I was like, God damn. So yeah, like kind of toward the end, it was just, how do we make this assumption work? And that's how we ended up coming to the idea of kind of like a forward sale. It was like, hey, you get all this, but we have all these clauses in here to say if you default, not if we default as the buyer, but if you default as a seller, then we get this, whatever, $7 million deposit back, right? So
okay, that's why it was staggered. That's why one building closed and the other one's closed.
Yeah,
after.
because again, RBC, CMHC took a lot longer than the previous deal, and that's just how their policies are and their underwriting and stuff. So
that makes sense. Makes sense.
So I think you probably agree with me. Like, you got to get very creative on some of these deals, and sometimes you can't have your broker hat on, like your agent hat. Like sometimes you have to look at it like, put myself in the seller's shoes, put myself in the buyer's shoes, and then like taking that a step further. What if I was a seller? What if I was a buyer? What would I do to make this work? I absolutely do not want this deal to die if I'm buyer or seller. What do I have to do to make it work? And sometimes you just say shit that's super unconventional and people are like, oh, that could work. Like, you remember at the beginning of your career doing commercial real estate, you probably had a very limited knowledge of things. And you, like, I remember for me with one of our clients, before you and I even started working together, we were like talking about ideas and I just had no idea what I was talking about. So I just like spit things out, like different ideas that I thought could work. Like logically in my head, they made sense. Maybe from like a lender or whatever, like a lawyer perspective, all that stuff, maybe it wouldn't have worked. But like I looked at it from a logical perspective and I was like, oh, this could be a solution. And he'd be like, oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But it's like,
yeah, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes being naive is like the best thing because you just look at things from a million different angles, right?
Yeah. Sometimes knowing too much could block your vision.
Yeah, 100%.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, you got the deal to the finish line. It was a complicated one,
Yeah.
but definitely worth it. You know, that's the thing with commercial. You end up doing a couple of bigger deals. They take more time, but it's a different type of work compared
Yeah.
to the residential or even the smaller type of deals,
But
right?
I always tell people this too, because like when agents call us and they're looking to join the team, or we have a prospect on residential who we think would be a good fit for commercial. Maybe they've done a little bit, not to the extent that you and I have, or like the price points that you and I have, but they're all. I find the number one thing, they're always like, well, the deals take a lot, like commission checks are bigger, but maybe you guys do 2 or 3 deals a year and it takes fucking 8 months to close and this and that. And I know I just said one of them took 8 months. I get that, but that's rare. Like out of every deal we've done, I can name 2 right off the bat in the last, 9 years we've been in the industry or I've been in the industry. Like I can count 2 that have taken 8 months. But like we talked about it in the office just before this, we had a $45 million deal with a 1 week due diligence closing in 3 weeks with $1 million deposit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's just, you got to work with the right people. You got to find the right people. And then the second offer we had on him, 48 with 30 and 30. Look at the one we're doing outside of the province right now. That deal ended up dying, and then got another one with $1 million deposit, 30 days due deal, 30 days closing. And that's another $60 million deal.
Yeah.
So it's like, you got to find the right people.
Right motivation, right deal, and then you'll get someone who wants to close on it fast enough, even if it's an institutional buyer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. I think that covers it for this deal.